Welcome to Banquet Breakdown.
I'm Jack.
I'm Sarah.
And we break down fictional relationships so you don't have to.
Welcome here, everybody. I'm so excited for this episode. This is going to be so good.
This is a good one.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
And we're glad that you're joining us on these book and movies and couple breakdowns and stuff that we're doing. So it's going to be good.
Yeah. Before we dive in, because it is a really great topic today. Before we dive in, what's the sip?
What is a sip? I am drinking a homemade latte.
Yeah.
And yes, I have my lovely Nespresso machine, and I love to make my own lattes.
Yeah.
What's your sip today?
Today I am drinking a classic peppermint tea with honey.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Nothing too exciting, but sometimes the classics.
It works.
Where it's at. Yeah.
Oh man.
So,
yes.
What are we talking about today?
I'm so excited because this is our favorite book series of all time. Like, it's your favorite series too, right?
Yeah. Of all time. Yeah.
Of all time. Like, this series is so well done. We are talking about Throne of Glass.
Throne of Glass.
And I have to say, like, I was looking it up today, and we came into this book series late in the game. Like, this book series came out, the first book, 2012 was when it came out.
Wow.
The last book came out in 2018. I never heard about this book.
Ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And I never heard about it while the book series was coming out.
Yeah.
So
no, I didn't either.
I only heard about it a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And started reading the book series 2 years ago. And I have to say, I'm really proud of myself because I have convinced many people, including you, to read this series because it is so good. And even the time that I convinced you, I had not read the full series yet.
No, you hadn't even finished.
I hadn't finished,
no.
Yes. And we kind of finished it together. Kind of. How long did it take you to read the series, Jack?
Probably 2 months.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, I started reading it in, I think, October of 2025.
Yeah.
And I was done before you.
Yeah, you were.
I was done before the end of November, I think, for sure.
Yeah, and I think I was wrapping up.
Yeah, you had, like, maybe 20 more chapters to go. The book is, like, 120 chapters.
Oh, yeah, last book. But I think I also get to this problem, and this is what happened to me in the series, but then also in that last book, where I really feel like I'm grieving the ending.
I know.
And so even in the book series, so I read all the way up to Queen of Shadows, and then I stopped. And I also hadn't read Assassin's Blade, which we can maybe get into that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe another time. But anyways, I hadn't even read Assassin's Blade yet at that point. And I got to the tandem read, and then I was hearing all these things about, you got to read it in a tandem, which I did, and I really liked it. But I think because I knew it was coming to an end, I was like, I don't want, like, this is a good spot to pause. Like, I just wanted to wait. And so then I actually waited a full year before I picked it back up again. Yeah. And it's still, like, I loved it so much, but I just didn't want to finish it.
See, and that's where we're different.
We're very
because
different.
I read the end of Queen of Shadows. First of all, I read the first, I think, 3 books in 1 week. I read Assassin's Blade third.
Yes.
There's also a lot of opinions on when to read that book, but maybe when we talk about Assassin's Blade, we can
go
talk
into
more about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I devoured the first 3 books.
You did.
Heir of Fire took me longer to get through. And by longer, I mean like maybe 2 weeks. And that was just because that one was harder for me. I don't know why. Well, I kind of know why. I have speculations. But then Queen of Shadows I read in 2 days. Like, I devoured that one.
Yeah, interesting. Which I think was the opposite for me. Yeah. Because I loved Heir of Fire. I devoured that in just a couple weeks. Yeah. And Queen of Shadows was harder for me to get into. But I think it was also because, now thinking back, now having time to process, I think it was because I didn't read Assassin's Blade. Yeah. So then I didn't really have those connections.
Because that's where it does start making a lot of those connections.
Yeah, for sure. But I love what we're going to do. So I've been kind of taking this deep dive today. While I was cleaning my house, I was like, let's listen to some podcasts. Yeah. So I've been doing a deep dive on a lot of different podcasts. And I discovered so many podcasts, even ones that were like waiting in anticipation for the last book. So it sounds so crazy to me because now the whole series is out.
Yeah.
But in this deep dive, a lot of people were giving like recaps and reviews, but we're going to do something different.
Yeah.
I like our little approach to this. So Jack, do you want to explain a little bit about how we're going to go about talking about this?
Sure. So Throne of Glass, the whole series is honestly very complex. There's a lot of characters that are introduced. There's a lot of different relationships between those characters. So the way that we're going to do it is, I think this is going to be one that we include in every season, and there might even be multiple episodes per season about this, because there's just so many different relationships. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to pick one specific relationship between two of the characters and talk about it as it progresses through the series. And we're going to just deep dive into like how they get started, what book they get started in, and how their relationship changes over the course of the series. So spoiler alert, we will be talking about kind of the whole series.
Yeah.
Not book by book. So if you haven't read the whole thing, go and do that. First of all, highly recommend, and then come back.
Try to beat her record.
2 months, everybody. Yeah. Although I'm pretty sure people have read it even quicker than that, but 2 months.
Yes.
If you beat my record, let us know.
Yeah, there's no way that we can talk about this without going into spoilers. So I feel like we have to talk about the whole series, and a lot of these relationships that we're talking about really, like, they have this whole arc throughout the series, so we kind of have to. Yeah. So make sure you read it.
Yeah. And we are going to be kind of our starting point. I think we both agree on this, is that The Throne of Glass should be the first book you read. Mm-hmm. Assassin's Blade can kind of be read anywhere after that, but we both agree that you should start with Throne of Glass.
Yes.
That's not a very popular opinion, apparently.
I was listening to that too.
A lot of people think you should start with Assassin's Blade, which I do not understand. No. First of all, because I like getting to know the character while there's a little bit of mystery.
Yes.
We agreed on that when we were talking about this.
Yeah, I really agree, because you first meet Celaena and you're like, she's just so unknown. Like, you have no idea why they're taking her out of this prison and how she got there in the first place. But you need that. You need that in a good story. Like, for you to start in Assassin's Blade, and even with Assassin's Blade, there are still some mysteries to her character. Yeah. But there's still, like, I think it adds so much depth when authors purposefully write the prequel, but they release it later on, right? Yeah. And that's kind of this idea of giving depth to the character. And, but they don't intend for that to be the starting point.
Well, and I think some people will argue against that because the author did write them first, and she released them, like, online for free.
Oh, she did?
A few of them. I don't know about all of them, but I know she did that. So then when she wrote Throne of Glass, that was the first published one. And then she put all the novellas together to create Assassin's Blade. But the author recommends reading it third. Yeah. Like reading Assassin's Blade third and starting with Throne of Glass. And I would have to agree. Yeah. That's the way I read it. Highly recommend doing it that way.
Yeah.
But
and
you can read Assassin's Blade first.
You can.
You can.
I just don't think that it's going to hit as much. Like, it's not going to have as much of an emotional impact.
Yeah, and some people say that that's the opposite because, spoiler alert, again, at the end of Assassin's Blade, Sam Cortland dies. And you already know that he dies going into Assassin's Blade, so lots of people are like, oh, but it spoils that. But it makes it so much more emotional when you read it, knowing how much she cared about him. Yes. And knowing how much, like, that tormented her up until... like after Crown of Midnight even. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a huge part of kind of the stuff she has to work through in Heir of Fire. Yes, and so then reading it third, it's a great way to read it through.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because when I was starting the series, I had looked at a couple different opinions, and some people said to read it right before the tandem read. And so that, I actually read it after the tandem read. I ignored that because I was like, whatever. So I read... Heir of Fire and Queen of Shadows with all of these things with Arobin and all of that, and I had no idea. Yeah. I knew obviously that there's got to be some backstory of what's going on, but and then I even continued to read Tower of Dawn and Empire of Storms together, and had no idea who
any of them were,
who any of these characters were. But like I still enjoyed it. But then I read Assassin's Blade, and to me, I appreciated Assassin's Blade way more because all of a sudden I was like, oh, all of these characters.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's a whole can of worms that we just opened.
We could talk about the reading order forever, probably.
There's so many things, but
there's so many opinions.
Let's focus in.
Yeah,
because we want to talk about a specific relationship today.
Yeah.
What relationship are we talking about?
We are going to be talking about Celaena and Dorian together.
Yes.
And what their relationship looks like throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
And what's really wonderful about them, I think, is there never really anything, like, they are romantic in the first book a little bit, but it doesn't go beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
And their friendship that develops is really something beautiful.
Yes.
But I also think that in normal circumstances, if their world hadn't been overtaken and things hadn't happened, I think they would have ended up together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do.
Interesting. So you think, like, regular life didn't trail on into all of these things of them being magical and having to save the world that they would have ended up together.
I really do.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking about this, and I mean, try to convince me otherwise, I guess.
Okay.
But I was thinking about this today, and I think that ultimately their relationship just could not go anywhere. Because I think that Celaena had so much trauma that she needs someone who can relate to that trauma in some way, or who has been to really deep, dark places. And I think as much as Dorian has had issues and stuff like family drama and stuff like that, not to say that he doesn't have a past, but I don't think it's as dark as what Celaena has gone through. And I think she can feel that like for her to fully be vulnerable with him, she just can't.
Yeah.
And I think that it's part of like this wall that she has to go through in Heir of Fire, obviously, for then her to be with Rowan. But I think that even after her going through all of that, she needed that to be Rowan to go through it with her. And I don't think that could have been Dorian.
No, not for that part of it. I agree completely. Like, in the way that the book happens, the book series happens, like, her and Rowan, obviously, they're a great pairing. But, I think...
But even with her past stuff, you think that they could have worked through it?
No, I'm not saying with her past stuff. I'm saying had that never happened with the king.
Oh, I see.
Had, like, they grown up together in a normal circumstance,
I see what
they
you're
would have
saying.
been together.
Okay. I thought you were saying, like, if they met when they met and still having all of their background, and then normal life continues.
I think had they gone through their normal lives without any of the stuff that, like, happens prior to the books, right? Because they met as kids.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think they would have been married off together if not, like, they would have maybe wanted to be together.
Yeah.
First of all, for the kingdoms being,
Okay.
a pair, but that's...
I see what you're saying now. Yes.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Personality-wise.
Yes.
I think the attraction that Celaena sees is, like, he does have that similar vibe to her, like, as how it's written, of, like, that. I love how they always write the swagger that she has. Like, And I think how I picture Dorian is that he has that similar vibe.
Yeah.
And that's very different to the other relationship that she has.
Yeah.
So I think there is that connection in there that they can kind of play off of each other.
Yeah. And I guess before we dive in too much, like, we can give a quick overview of kind of what their relationship looks like over the course of this series. So when we meet both of them in Throne of Glass, it opens on her being a slave in an, how do you say it? In Endovir?
Endovir, yes.
Endovir?
Yes.
The salt mines, yeah. And Dorian has taken a small group of people to go and pick her up to be a part of a competition.
To be the champion.
To be the champion for the king. Which basically means they would be an assassin, essentially. Which she already is one when we meet her. But then they would do all of the king's bidding. And the king, right from the get-go, you have red flags about, you're like, what is this guy doing? And Dorian is the king's son, so he's the prince.
Yes.
And what ends up happening is through this competition, she gets close to two people, really. She doesn't let a whole lot of people in. She has a very traumatic past. Lots happens to her, which you kind of find out more about later. But she gets really close to Kael, who's the captain of the guard, and specifically, like, really good friends with Dorian. And then she gets close with Dorian as well.
And both of those guys are the ones that pick her up from the Salt Mines from the beginning.
Yeah. So they both meet her. They both see what state she was in.
Yes.
Which was very...
She was not treated well. Yeah.
No, she wasn't treated well. She had these crazy scars, all this stuff. And I think Dorian was a really good distraction for her throughout that first book. But then at the end, she ends up choosing Kael to be with. And there's kind of a love triangle between them, sort of. But yeah, at the end, you can tell the captain likes her. Yeah. But she ends up choosing to be with him. So then through most of the second book, she's with Kael, and Dorian is actually pretty distraught about it for a lot of that book, and is very upset. And then as their relationship goes on, you find out that Dorian has magic, and that they are kind of very similar, and that they both have just this really raw magical giftings. Him even more so, I think, in how the book is written.
In how it's written, he becomes, I think, even more powerful than she is.
But he doesn't fully understand his power, and I think that's part of the differences, is she has a lot of help along the way to understand her powers,
a lot of training.
Whereas Dorian does not, and kind of has to figure it out on his own, which he does throughout the series. But then they kind of have a splitting off point, so she ends up going to Wendelin to train with the Fae, because, spoiler, she is part Fae. But she seems human in the first couple books. You find out at the end of book 2 that she's actually the princess of Terrazin.
Yes.
And
Terrassin?
How do you say it?
Oh, I've heard it Terrassin.
Terrassin?
Terrassin? I don't know.
I don't know either.
We've only... I've listened to some of the books and some podcasts too, but I feel like I also, every time I say Celaena's name, I want to say Celaena, but it's Celaena.
I know, there's so many names that look like they should be said a different way. And then even, like, I want to call it Adarlan, but it's Otterland, which sounds really weird in my head. But anyway. So she ends up going to train with the Fae, and then kind of discovers her own magic. But magic doesn't exist in Otterland. For whatever reason, they don't really know at the start. But Dorian has magic anyway, so that's kind of a confusing plot point. But then their paths get separated, and then they eventually do come back together at the end.
Yes.
After she's with Rowan, and once everything's kind of blown up, and they work together to then defeat the big bad at the end. Yeah. And their friendship that develops, I think, is really strong, because they just have this combined kind of understanding that each other has this really magical gift that's very hard to handle, very hard to carry the weight of. And they're both heirs of Elena and Brennan.
Right. Brandon? Yes. Yeah. And I think that that weighs on both of them, where I feel like they have that shared experience of, like, both feeling the weight, and there's kind of this on the fence thing of, okay, who is going to have to carry the full weight of this? Is it, and in a sense, you're kind of waiting to see, okay, who's going to die because of this? Yeah. Because you're knowing that it's building up to something, and that they both carry this bloodline, and so then one of them, it's kind of like one of them has to die. Yeah. But they're both carrying that weight of it, and I feel like that also adds a depth to their friendship, because they know what that feels like.
They're the only two people that really understand that as well. Yeah. So then to kind of reel it back, so when they first meet, I think Dorian right away is like, I like this girl. Yes. And she takes a while to warm up. Yeah. Which is understandable, given, like, her past with men, first of all, but also just
she's a flirt, though. Like,
she leans into it.
Yeah. But she, again, like, I think she has these layers. I just thought of, like, Shrek, which is terrible, but she has these layers that he slowly peels back. Yeah. But I think she's like, she's wanting that relationship, and I think she sees, oh, maybe potentially I could actually have something with Dorian. Yeah. But I think it's slowly realizing, no, I can't. Yeah. But she does let him in a little bit more than she has since Sam. Yeah. So that is kind of fun to see, is that, I know, Sam. We'll talk about that
Another day.
But I think it is interesting that, like, she's slowly letting this person in, and in a way, I think Dorian kind of sets her up for then the other relationships that she has afterwards, because she realizes, okay, I can love again. I can love somebody again. It is possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that Dorian definitely has that, like, that ease to the conversation, right? That friendly demeanor, that flirtatious attitude, where she is drawn to that because that's very similar to how she presents anyway. And she is like that, but I think her trauma kind of makes it so that she has that facade almost.
Yes.
And so then they hit it off a lot quicker, but I think that's why she ends up with Kale at the end of the first book, because she loves the banter, but it doesn't feel as real to her, I think.
But again, I think, like, coming back to that, like, I think she just sees that Dorian can't handle that dark side. And that is there. And I think, well, we can talk about more with her and Kale later. But I do think that that's a huge difference. And Dorian, I also think that that's partly just both of their characters, that Dorian also can't really be vulnerable at that point. Like, he doesn't have the capacity to be vulnerable until later on, because then we do see him become that a little bit more. But I think there is this block that just both of them can't be vulnerable with each other for some things.
Well, and I think too, it, like, honestly, for Celaena, I think I would venture to guess that a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's the prince.
Yes.
And he's directly related to the king, who has, in her mind, caused all of her suffering, basically. So I think for her, I don't know if she would have ever gotten over that.
Yeah. That's a pretty big thing.
Right?
I think it's one thing when you're friends with somebody to kind of overlook it, but to, like, have that deeper level.
Because I think, so you find out throughout the book series that the King of Otterland has been possessed by a Valg prince, right? And he is not himself when he did all this stuff, so it kind of takes her a second to process that. But throughout the majority of the book series, all she knows is that he slaughtered her family. And slaughtered all of her relatives. And then left, like, she should have been dead too. But she gets taken in by the king of the assassins.
Oh my goodness.
Which is another relationship we'll have to talk about.
We're gonna dive into, like we said at the beginning, this is not just the romantic relationships. We're also going to talk about the other relationships too. And there's so many, so that's why we're going to go through. This is going to be an ongoing theme through our seasons.
It could be its own podcast,
it really could, yes.
But I think that knowing that, like, she thinks the king has personally slaughtered, like, ordered the slaughter of her entire family and her entire, not country, but, like,
her region or whatever, I guess you would call it.
And took magic away from them as well. And I feel like with her and Dorian, I just think there was always that wall in the middle. And I don't think they ever really could have gotten there. I think if she hadn't met Rowan, well, I think a lot of things would be different if she hadn't met Rowan down the line. But I could have seen her and Dorian, like, coming back together afterwards.
Maybe,
Possibly, if Rowan wasn't in the picture. But once he's there, it's kind of like, okay, clearly he's endgame. They're going to be together forever.
Clearly he's endgame. I like how you put that. Yes, 100%. Oh, Team Rowan all the way. But, like, yes, I think that, there's this block of where I think it kind of comes from even they're getting to this point where then, okay, now she's going to be the king's champion. And I'm curious if that was also partly this blocked their relationship too, where she's like, okay, now I have to work for somebody that I absolutely despise. And she can only take so much of the king. And so then to be around his son as well, like, even though she has to be around him in some ways, but, like, to be in a relationship with him, because Dorian was like, oh, we can do it secretly or whatever, and she's just like, no, this isn't gonna work. And I think just mentally she was like, I can barely be his champion for these 4 years, like, to be in that contract.
Totally.
She's like, I can barely do that. Like, I cannot have any more connection to the king at all.
And I think it was really heartbreaking for Dorian, honestly. And I don't know if he ever really got over her.
I don't think so either.
If I'm being completely honest. Even by the end of the series, I'm not convinced that Dorian really ever got over Celaena.
Because then yeah, Dorian and Manon. How do we want to say that?
I think technically it's Manon.
Okay. Manon.
We could be wrong. If our pronunciation is wrong,
sorry,
please don't blame us.
We did not look that up. We're not
super... I did while I was reading it, but it's been a few months now.
It's been a while. Okay, Manon.
I think it's
so
Manon.
Yeah, Dorian and Manon, like, that whole relationship is really interesting, which I think we do have an episode about them as well.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, where there's moments where you can tell that, yes, Dorian is attracted to that, like, to her and that relationship and whatever, but I think there are moments, even towards the end, where you can see Dorian just being like, he really loves Celaena.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's almost... because Celaena's character changes and she does kind of become this, like, well, she's becoming this queen.
Yeah.
But she also, in a sense, like, I don't know, this sounds weird, but, like, she kind of becomes this, like, idol for the people, right?
Yeah.
And this thing that she's the savior because she's tackling this thing.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Dorian's affection, if he doesn't really quite understand in himself what he's feeling, because I wonder if it is kind of more like, wow, you can do, like, he's just so...
Well, and I see where you're going with
I don't know if that makes sense, but...
It does, because I think he also is aspiring to be a good king, right? But then he goes through his own sort of trauma partway through the series, where he actually gets a collar put on him, and it possesses him with a Vogue prince.
Yeah.
And most people don't come back from that in their experience, up until that point especially. And so this is an interesting part of their relationship, too, that we should talk about, is because... after this collar is put on him, he had to witness... he does fall in love again.
Yeah.
He really does. And I don't think it's as strong of a love, in my opinion, as he had for Celaena, but it was like... it was still really emotional for him.
Yes.
And he has to see her beheaded right before he gets this collar put on him.
Yeah.
And so while he's kind of, like, in the midst of being possessed by this Vogue demon, Vogue prince, he is, like... being reminded of what he saw, which is like someone he loves so being beheaded. Yeah, so traumatizing. And then he comes out of that, which Celaena almost kills him, actually.
Yeah.
Partway through, I think it's Queen of Shadows.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't believe you can come back from it. She thinks he's just gone. The Vogue prince has overtaken him entirely. And she almost beheads him. And someone who kind of, we'll talk about in regard to Chaol, probably more so, ends up stopping her from doing it. And then Manon is the one who actually recognizes that he's still in there because she has a run-in with him.
Yeah.
And as she gets close, the Vogue kind of regresses a little bit and lets a bit of Dorian out. Yeah. And she sees it and she goes and tells Celaena.
Yeah. Like, she's like, no, he's
still in there. Yeah. And... I think that's a pivotal point in their relationship, too, because in Celaena's mind, I guess at this point, she's Aelin.
Yeah.
In her mind, she was being gracious to him. Like, she was trying to do the loving thing because she thought he was gone.
Yeah.
And she had killed a few other people who had been possessed by Vogue princes who had begged for death.
And she's kind of on this one-track mind of, like, nope, this is evil. Like, you can't come back from that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so she thinks she's being merciful. Yeah. And this is where the dynamic with Chaol comes back too, because he's the one saying, you cannot kill him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
then there's tension there too, which we'll have to get into. There's a lot of tense moments, I think, with Celaena and Chaol as well.
Yes. Like, their relationship.
I am excited for next
one
week.
We're talking about.
I'm excited for next week because that'll be good. Oh, quality control over here.
Yeah. She's coming in.
Oh, wow. Yes. Millie.
Go to your mommy.
Come here. I know. But yeah, I think there's a lot of depth to especially what Dorian goes through. Yeah. And then I think there is this kind of, you know, I don't know, I see this so much in writing that it does translate a lot in real life where we don't really even know what we're feeling. Like, have you ever been in those relationships where you're like, hey, wait a second, what am I feeling? Because sometimes it is just this connection. Yeah. Like we talked about in the Stranger Things episode, like the trauma bonding that makes you believe that relationship is deeper than it is. Yeah. But then it kind of just stops, right? It levels out. Yeah, I wonder if Dorian, he's just kind of like confused with all of those relationships. Like, okay, wait, what is a real deep relationship, and what does that take? Dorian is trying to figure out all of these relationships, and I think part of that is how he grew up, right? Like, he's a prince, he's in a castle, he has a very different life than all of these people, and he's still trying to figure out, like, okay, wait, is this, like, he's kind of still a child, and how he enters all of those relationships of like, oh, maybe I like them, instead of, and like, how flirty he is too. That's kind of what I get with him.
And I think he knows he's desirable too, being a prince, and that does play into it as well, because he kind of has the mindset of, I can get any woman I want.
Yes, he does.
And I think this is where their relationship is interesting too, because she's one of the first women who that really like ends up saying no and walking away. And I wonder too if for Dorian, like, it's more of an infatuation almost than a like genuine love. For Celaena, I think it does develop into something more than that, but I do think like everything she is, he's just infatuated with, and I think that's more so the romantic feeling he's feeling is that kind of just like obsession.
I would agree. Yeah, it does kind of almost feel like an obsession to some degree, but it's not necessarily real. Like, if that
there is genuine parts to it, I think. But for him, I think being infatuated with a woman like that, like, that's what he probably wanted out of his life, is to actually have this banter with someone. If he was going to have to marry and they were going to have to be his queen, right? He probably expected it to be like that.
His whole character arc, I have to say, like, he in the last book is my favorite character.
Oh yeah.
Because of everything that he goes through. And and I liked him actually from the start. I didn't ever not like him, I think.
I agree.
There was always parts of me, like, and especially even when he was then possessed and stuff too, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is heartbreaking.
Yeah. That was devastating.
I thought that was interesting because I don't normally like those characters, but how he was written and how he was then developed into this like really pivotal character in the end. Like, I really liked Dorian in the end.
And actually, and I like fact check me on this maybe, but I heard that when the author started the series, it was her intention for her and Dorian to end up together at the end.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And then that got changed.
And then that changed throughout writing as they introduced new characters and stuff, but it was originally written with the intent in mind for her to be with Dorian.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. And I can kind of see that.
I can kind of see that too. Yeah. Or even where it's like, she's like, let's start it here. We'll separate them. We'll see what happens. But then maybe along the way, she's like, actually, I think this is going to make more sense. Yeah. Which, when she writes Rowan in...
You can't really compete with that.
No, you just can't.
You can't.
As frustrating as Rowan was in the beginning, you do see that, like, he is such a good match for her.
Totally.
Such a good match
He's
for her.
really the only person that meets her on her level.
Yes.
And is actually able to, like, spar with her on an emotional level.
Yeah.
And also kind of on a physical level, too, right? Yeah. Dorian probably gets there, but it's not the same.
Yeah, and I think Dorian maybe had this idea of, like, I want her to be here. But Celaena's like, I'm actually only here when I'm putting my mask on. Yeah. I'm actually here. And because Rowan, you see that in Heir of Fire, where she's like at the lowest of lows. Like she's exhausted herself
by faking it for so long. And Rowan's the one person she doesn't have to fake it with.
Yeah. And I think with Dorian, she was faking it as much as she wanted to not. But I think that's where Dorian just had this idea in his mind of like, she's here. But she's like, no, I'm not. And she could only say that so much, right? And you can only express that so much without going into detail if you don't want to. So exactly. I think that's why their relationship was just, there was always a wall there.
Yeah, and I don't think they would have ever gotten there.
No.
To be honest. Because like you said, I think it was a little bit more exhausting for her. Yeah. Being with him, even though she liked him. She really did. Yeah. And I do think she liked him and was attracted to him. Like, was kind of, you know, romantic interest, right? Yeah. But I don't think she ever felt she could truly be herself with him. And I think it does come back to some of that trauma as well, right? Like, he just hadn't been through that. No. Especially at that point. Especially at that point, he goes through his own stuff. But I think for her entire life has been traumatic, really. Yeah. Like... 10 years of her life, which is the majority of her life, over half of it, has just been, taken from her, really. Yeah.
Again, like, this series is just so well written with all of the layers to it, and you get to see so much come out. And there's one podcast that I was listening to that was kind of funny, where they were just like, there's no depth in the first 2 books. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about?
Did we read the same book?
Yeah. and I just, like, there is so much depth, and there's so many layers, and you can tell that the author does know what she's doing. She's not going to give it all to you for free in the first 2 books.
And honestly, I feel like this series in particular, I feel like so many things are handled so well as you go throughout the series, and it's just built on. Like, from the very beginning, there's already depth, but then it just layers on more and more, and that's why you get to the end and you kind of have this grieving period of like, wait, this is done?
Yeah.
Both of us, after we finished the last book, we were like kind of sad and disappointed, I think, with certain aspects of it, but I think more of that, reflecting on it now, was just disappointment for it being over.
I think so. We were grieving the book as, like, a best friend that moved away. Like, it was sad. It was really sad. Yeah.
I will say, though, out of their, we'll call it a situationship, because it really isn't ever a relationship. Yeah. Well, friendship.
Kind of,
But Fleetfoot.
Yes.
Fleetfoot.
I forgot about Fleetfoot. Aww.
Dorian's like, I have this dog that I don't want because it's like super aggressive and doesn't want to go near me. And Celaena's like, give it to me. I'm going to take this dog.
And
they're best friends.
And they're best friends. Yes. I love it. I love it so
I
much.
loved it. I love Fleetfoot. Aww. And honestly, spoiler alert again, Fleetfoot does not die. Thank goodness.
Thank the Lord. Yes. I am glad.
There were so many moments where Fleetfoot would come back in and I'd be like, oh, everything's okay.
I think there were some moments too where it was like when she was going through the tunnels and the tombs and stuff down, and I was like, oh my goodness, Fleetfoot better not get in trouble down here. Like, yes.
And then, okay, also, before we wrap up, I think we need to talk about their moment closer to the end, too. In Kingdom of the Rush, when they agree. So basically, throughout the story, there's this Elena, like, her ghost keeps showing up, or her spirit keeps showing up, and basically ends up telling Celaena, like, you have to pay the price for what I did, which is your life. Like, the price is your life. And either her or Dorian could pay it. And after Aelin gets captured by Maeve at the end, Dorian then pursues that mission and takes it on for himself. But then they come back together and they agree to do it together.
Yeah.
Which is like one of my favorite parts in that. Well, there's a lot of favorite parts throughout the series, but for them specifically, as a friendship, that moment was so emotional for me to read.
I loved that moment, but then I think what was really hard and interesting for their friendship was then when she pushes him away.
I know.
Because
I don't think he'd ever forgive her for that.
I know. Honest. Yes. And I think that is kind of like the final straw for their friendship, where it's like, we can only go so far. And I think she just was so focused on, this is my mission, this is my purpose in life, this is what I have to do, and she agreed to do it together, but she always had planned, I think, to push him off.
I think so too. And I think the king coming in at the end and kind of taking Dorian's place was not in her plan. But
I think it
saved
helped.
her life.
It did. Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But then Dorian had to then live on knowing that she made that sacrifice and didn't give him the option to, which he was totally willing to make.
Yes, he was.
Which was devastating for him.
Which is hard as friends, because it's like, I think as this friendship, he's wanting to put in 100% in the friendship. He's
he
willing
always
to.
Tries, really.
Yes,
and
but
she pushes him away. Yeah. That's kind of a metaphor for their entire friendship.
It is.
Entire relationship throughout the books. Her inevitably pushing him away at the end.
With a lot of her friendships, honestly. Which she
honestly.
has so much trauma. So it does make sense. But I think that makes it really hard to be friends with her, because people keep trying to push in and keep trying to help, but she won't let them. Yeah.
I think the only exception to that is probably Lysandra.
Yeah. Because I think, again, she has that connection with people that have had similar dark trauma. And
obviously Rowan too, but he's in a different category.
Yes, in a different category. But like in friendships.
Yeah, friendship wise, definitely I think Lysandra's the only exception to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think this was a good start into Throne of Glass, because there's obviously, like, we're just talking about Dorian, but as you can see, we have so many thoughts. And we're going to come back. We're going to tackle all of the different relationships because there's also, there's some things like even the friendship with Dorian and Kale and even how that changes and grows as as Dorian sees Kale with Celaena and like that whole feeling and
there's so many different
relationships.
It's
hard,
and they cross in a lot of ways too.
They really do. So we'll always be talking about the whole thing, but certain aspects of it for sure. So I'm excited to keep talking about it, and we're gonna do a part 2 talking about the assassin and
the captain.
And that's gonna be fun. So I'm excited. I'm excited to keep going. But I think before we end, let's do one thing. Okay. What is your fave of the week? Let's end with that.
Oh, okay.
What's your fave bin of the week?
Fave of the week. Okay, I actually just finished reading. I read the Part of Your World series by Abby Jimenez. So I read all 3 books in that series. I just finished the 3rd one last night.
Yes.
Such good books.
Yeah.
Honestly, like so much depth to the characters.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. Like I was genuinely laughing throughout so many of them.
Okay. Interesting.
And how about
for
you?
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
For me, okay, I'm gonna go with a TV show that I just picked up this week. It's been out for quite a while, but it's called Hijack. And it's very interesting. Lots of twists and turns. So that's what I've been enjoying this week. That's been my fave this week.
Nice.
I've kind of binged through some episodes, but it's been good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. And then also, before we wrap up, one last thing too.
Yeah.
Okay. We need to talk about their red flags though, quick.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So if I had to give an award for the biggest red flags, I think it's Celaena.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it just has to be because she has so much trauma that she has not worked through. And it's really no fault of her own, honestly. No. But like everything she's gone through mostly opens up an Heir of Fire. I think it kind of comes to a head and she has to face all of it. And she can't do that with Dorian. So I think like she does kind of lead him on.
Yeah.
And I think that's a red flag.
Yeah.
I think Dorian honestly has a lot of green flags. And I don't know if I'm just like
no red flags.
None. I don't know if I'm just like seeing what I want to see there, because I genuinely love Dorian. Like he's one of my favorite characters.
He is a flirt, and I don't necessarily love that type. I find it annoying sometimes too much of it.
Yeah.
So I would say that that's a red flag for me, where I'm just like, come on, like pull yourself together. But at the same time, it is kind of fun. But yeah, I would agree that I think through the whole book, Celaena is a big red flag.
In a lot of her relationships, not just with Dorian.
That doesn't mean that we don't like her.
Totally.
She is she's the amazing character. I love it. But she is a red flag. Like, if you were to meet somebody with that much trauma, it'd be like, make sure that you're going through your stuff. Like,
and someone who never includes anyone in her plans. And like, that's a big red flag.
Even towards the end, she's not really trusting people. And so, you know, she keeps making the same mistakes. I think that's part of it, is that she keeps making the same mistakes until the very, very end. Then she does let people in to help in that last battle.
I would love to have a little, like, view into what their lives are like
10 years in the future. Yes 10 years post-war.
Yes. Well,
oh, man. Well, I think that's all for this episode, but I look forward to part 2.
There's another episode of Bankhead Breakdown for you. With part 2 to come and many more to go after that in regards to Throne of Glass.
Yes, exactly. Many more, because there's so many things. Thanks for listening to this episode.
Please like, share, and subscribe, and feel free to leave us a review.
Share your comments on today's episode.
And join us next time for another episode of Bankhead Breakdown.